Okay. Okay, we're live. So you guys already know the quadratic formula. You already know how to use it. But my guess is last night was your first time trying. And my guess is it was a little overwhelming a bit, right?
It was confusing.
It was a little confusing, right? And that's how everybody feels about the quadratic formula in the beginning. And eventually you get to the point where you start to get it. You kind of know what you're doing. All right, so I just want to show the way I would do it if it were me. Because it's simpler, I think, the way I would do it than the way typically most students would do it after they've learned it. Most students would put everything into this formula, write the equation just the way it was. That's how I used to do it for years. And I started thinking, you know, that makes it so hard because I have so much mess in the numerator, right? So what I prefer to do, well, first of all, let's look at our equation. We got x squared equals 6x plus 5. In order to find my a, my b, and my c, it must equal what? This whole equation has to equal what? Always.
Zero.
Zero. You have to make your equation equal to 0. All right? And so, remember, that's what I'm finding when I'm using the quadratic formula. I'm finding the zeros where it crosses the x-axis, right? That's what I'm finding. So I want y to be 0, meaning I want the equation to equal 0, meaning y is 0, right? So I'm going to subtract 6x and I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Subtract 6x, subtract 5, and that gives me x squared minus 6x minus 5 equals 0. Right? Does that make sense? So now I've got my trinomial equaling 0. So I know my a, my b, and my c. My a is equal to 1, my b is equal to -6, and my c is -5. Now, what I do first is I do just this b squared minus 4ac. Okay? So the square root of b squared minus 4ac. That's the messy part. Don't you guys agree with me? Don't you think that's messy?
Yeah.
When you add that to the negative b over 2a, negative b over 2a is easy, right? You're used to that with the axis of symmetry formula. But it's this mess. So let's get rid of the mess first. Let's do the messy stuff first. So I've got, okay, so we've got the square root of b squared. So -6 squared is positive 36 minus 4 times parenthesis 1 times parenthesis -5. Okay, second step, I look at my negatives. I don't worry about multiplying anything out. I just look at the negatives. How many negatives do you see under this? 2. That's an even number, right? If you have an even number, what's it going to be? But when you multiply, it's going to be positive, right? Like a negative times a negative. A negative times a negative, that's even, is a positive. An odd number, a negative times a negative times a negative, is an odd, right? Or just one negative is, I mean, did I say it was an odd? It's a negative, right? Negative times negative times negative is negative. So an odd number is negative. A 1 is negative. A 3 negatives is negative. 5 negatives is negative. 2 negatives is positive. Assuming you're multiplying. Does that make sense? Multiplying or dividing, right? So immediately, and that's all I'm doing here, I've got -4 times 1 times -5. Since I'm multiplying, I see negatives, negatives, I know it's positive. So I'm going to do this. Immediately, I'm going to go to 36 plus, and now I'm going to ignore all signs. I'm just going to multiply the numbers. 4 times 1 times 5, which is 20. You agree with me? Right? So I'm going to put 20. So now that gives me 56. Right? The square root of 56. Oh, I'm doing that one. Right, okay. Now, what I will do, and I don't have it with me, I get out my calculator. And I say, okay, 56 square root, and I get approximately 7.48. That is approximately 7.48. You agree with me? Yes?
Yeah.
Now I go back to my quadratic formula. I just dealt with all the messy stuff right there. It was so easy to find that number. Now I come over here, I go x is equal to -6, right? B is -6, so -6 is +6, plus or minus I don't have to write square root anymore. I got a number. 7.48. You see what I'm doing? Divided by 2 times a, 2 times 1 is 2. Right? Immediately, in just writing that, I now know I've got two answers. I've got x is equal to 6 plus 7.48 all over 2, or x is equal to 6 minus 7.48 over 2. All right? And I just get out my calculator. And I do them. 6 plus 7.48. 6 plus 7.48 equals, divide by 2, equals 6.74. And technically, I really have to say not equals, but approximately equals, right? Because I used an approximate answer for the square root of 56. Does that make sense? And then this one, I just get out my calculator and I say 6 minus 7.48 equals, divided by 2, equals negative 0.74. And you're done. Do you get it? You see what I'm doing? So the key is, I like to do this separate. I like to do this right away, because it's not so hard. It's not so overwhelming. But if I'm doing that and having to recopy x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of that, all divided by 2, each time I go here, you know what I'm saying? It would be one very long problem. You follow me? Because each time I would have to simplify further and further. And if I kept it as this huge equation, then I would be using up all this space, when this is all I care about. I want to get to that. Then I just plug it into my fraction, and I'm ready to find my answer immediately. Does that make sense? You see the difference? Yes? Okay.
I don't think we did that right.
Well, what'd they give for answers?
Uh,
That was number 6.
yeah. 3.
Yeah, well, see, but they didn't do the square root of 14. You follow me?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
See what I mean?
yeah, yes.
So you don't know what that is. If you figured it out, it would equal this stuff, right?
Yes.
I think it would be better, personally, it's better to come up with a number like this. But I think it's easier. I think that's easier. Because otherwise, if you keep it, if you have the square root of 56, you've got to ask yourself, can I simplify the square root of 56? Because a math teacher will take points off if you don't simplify the square root of 56. And it's an easy way to simplify is use your calculator and just press square root, and you just simplify it. Takes like a half of a second. It's easy, right? So anyways, that's my suggestion. Do you want me to do one more, or is that clear?
Let's do 4 and 4.
One more? You want me to do one more?
4. Let's do
4 and
4 and 4.
4.
We'll do-
Don't forget 4, dude.
We'll do 4, and then if we have time, we'll do 4.
Don't forget
Okay.
4. I want to go over.
Gary,
Can
four.
we like squeeze in 4?
All right. Well, as soon as I finish 4,
Okay.
okay? So
Okay.
this is number 4, even though it's number 2. Right? It's number 4 on the homework.
Oh.
The other one's number 6 on the homework. Okay. Oh, wait. Number 4. Okay. So this one says,
No, we want you to do number 4, Gary.
all right, 3x squared minus x equals 10. It does not equal 0. So I got to make it equal 0. I would subtract the 10 from both sides. And I have 3x squared minus x minus 10 is equal to 0.
Yeah.
Right? And now I figure out my a is equal to 3, my b is equal to negative 1, and my c is equal to negative 10. Right? So over here, I'm going to do my square root of b squared, which is negative 1 times negative 1, which is positive 1, minus 4 times parenthesis 3 times parenthesis negative 10. Now I'm going to write square root. I've got 1, and then I'm going to figure out my sign. There's 2 of them. Negative times negative is positive, so I'm going to put a plus. I'm going to do 4 times 3 is 12, times 10 is 120. Right? So I've got now square root of 121. Now, I take out my little handy-dandy calculator. I do 121 square root, and I say, oh, it's a perfect square. It equals 11. That's awesome. So now, that's what I'm going to put back into my equation. here we go. I've got x is equal to negative b, which is negative negative 1, which is positive 1, plus or minus
Wait, wasn't there
11.
no solution problem?
What? Say again? I'm on number 4. I'll do, just hold on, I'll do 4 after 4, okay?
Thanks, Gary.
Is that what you want? Okay.
Nice.
Right, but all I'm doing is plugging that in now to my huge messy equation, which is no longer messy. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Right? And then x is equal to 1 plus, okay, whatever that, over what? What did I say? 2 times a. A is 3, 2 times, that's 6. So really, I've just got 2 possibilities. 1 plus 11 over 6, or, I'll just write it this way, or 1 minus 11 over 6. So that means x is equal to
2.
12, 6, which is 2, or 10, 6, which is 5/3. I could just leave it as a fraction, right? 10, 6, or 5/3. That's fine. Oh wait, it's negative though, right? That's negative 10 over 6, so negative 5/3. And then I did it. Or I could use my calculator and figure out negative 5 divided by 3 is, and then I get my answer, right? Clear?
Okay, let's do 4 now.
See how quick and easy they are when you do this method? Now, if you didn't do this method, I'm just going to show you really fast what it's going to look like, okay? Whoops. Oops. Okay, 3x squared. If you didn't use this method, and you chose to just plug it all in, here we go. X is equal to negative b. Oh, excuse me. Okay, negative 6. I mean negative 1, which is positive 1. 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 4 times 3 times negative 10.
Wait, what are we doing?
I'm just showing you why to use the other method. I'm doing
Oh, okay,
it. I'm doing it the long way now, so you can see. This is probably what most of you did, right? All over 2 times 1 is 2, right? Oh, 2 times 3 is 6. Sorry. You did,
Gary.
right? So look, okay, great. Now I have to simplify that, right? So I'm going to go x is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus plus 120 all over 6. Oh, now I've got to add these together, right? I got to go x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 121 over 6. And then I said, oh, but that's 11. So I got to go x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 11 over 6. And then I got to go, oh, wait a minute, not 11, not square root of 11, 11. And then I say, oh wait, we forgot the 1, 1, right? And now I can separate. But do you see what I mean? It's just so much easier to deal with the messy stuff separately and then put it into the equation. Anyways, that's my suggestion.
Should we stop
I
the
find
video?
it much easier.
Should we stop the video?
So yeah, we'll stop the video.
Gary, I want you to know something.
Yeah.